It is recommended that the commission adopt the proposed order in the petition of Tri-Co Connections LLC.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Kennard. Under discussion, I do have comments, and I ask that my comments be spread upon the record in their entirety. The eligible telecommunications carrier, ETC, designation we grant today is required by federal law before a carrier can receive federal funding. It is also historic. Tri-Co can now proceed to get the funding it seeks to construct a fiber-to-home broadband network in a very high-cost areas of rural Pennsylvania. This fiber network, a network that offers virtually unlimited capacity, is going to provide broadband service to rural consumers at speeds greater than the federal minimum and at an affordable rate. This includes eligible low-income consumers under the federal Lifeline program. Tri-Co's petition was successful, at least in part, due to a $17.15 million funding commitment from Pennsylvania as part of the Office of Broadband Initiative's focus on getting broadband to rural Pennsylvania. We look forward to working with Tri-Co as it deploys the state-of-the-art fiber broadband network and begins to provide service to rural Pennsylvania. Any further comments?
I have a comment, Madam.
Vice Chairman Sweet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to elaborate upon your comments a bit, and I certainly applaud them, and the activity of Tri-County. Early in my tenure on this commission, I learned, along with the other commissioners, that there was a changed initiative at the federal level that was going to result in over $141 million of declined funds for rural broadband to revert to a national auction. And this threatened, really, the ability of Pennsylvanians and Pennsylvania's communities and Pennsylvania's businesses to continue to take advantage of money that our own ratepayers had been sending to Washington, D.C. This commission filed a proceeding with the FCC in conjunction with the Wolf administration. The chair and I and former Commissioner Powelson met with the chairman of the FCC and attempted to lobby the FCC to change course and to provide Pennsylvania a carve-out, much as they had done for New York State, to preserve this $140 million of ratepayer money. There was a full-scale lobbying effort I won't go into. Many of our federal officials were very aggressive in attempting to assist. But ultimately and sadly, we failed in the effort to preserve all $140 million specifically for Pennsylvania. Tri-County Connections, which is an affiliate of Tri-County Rural Electric, in their efforts to try to close the digital divide that exists in its service area, developed a broadband deployment plan. They actually engaged in the lobbying effort I described. They approached this entire challenge with vigor and with tenacity. And they, notwithstanding the challenges that were confronted, participated in the national auction. And by goodness, they won. They were one of the winners. And with the assistance, as the chair has mentioned, of an over $17 million grant from the broadband office, which the governor recently created, and with the DCD grant and with their own money and their own sweat equity, managed to prevail in that auction, which I think is terrific and which will be hopefully the start of more significant efforts to expand broadband in the rural parts of Pennsylvania that's so desperately needed. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Vice Chairman Sweet. Any further comments or discussion?
I have a comment, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Kennard.
I share your sense, Madam Chairman, of the history being made by Tri-County's entry into the broadband field, and also want to recognize with Vice Chairman Sweet that this is the money that is on your telephone bill being put to work. There's a line called universal service. We pay millions of dollars as a Commonwealth, and this is money largely coming back from the federal government as well as supplemented by the state government, that makes this deployment in rural Pennsylvania possible. And I also want to remark on how historic this is in terms of industry structure. Over the last 20 years, the predominant dynamic in the telecommunications space has been convergence. As cable went from TV only to broadband and voice, as voice telephone service went from broadband, went to include broadband as well as TV, and as wireless came on board and also started to hit the triple play, Tri-County has shifted this paradigm again. Now we have the convergence of broadband and electric service, an interesting change, I think, significant in the playing field. Broadband service by a co-op is an extremely efficient form of entry, given their customer relationships and the facilities they already have put in place. And today, we help clear the regulatory barriers and enable entry by Tri-County. This is truly a landmark for us. And I also want to do a shout out to Buck Pankew and the Law Bureau. As a case of first impression, this has raised many legal issues. And I want to thank the Law Bureau, particularly Dave Screven, for his diligence and hard work to bring this up to the point where we could vote on it this morning.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Chairman, I do have a comment.
Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. Anytime you have multiple commissioners commenting on a case, you realize it's a big deal, and in fact, that is the case this morning. I guess my other observation, being here for over 9 years now, that when you're late in the order in terms of comments on a particular case, there's probably little material left here to articulate. But let me just say this, that I'd like to agree with all the sentiments of my colleagues. This is truly a historic moment here in Pennsylvania for all the reasons that you've heard this morning. And having a rural electric cooperative stepping into the broadband space is a big deal. It's a big deal for Pennsylvania, and it's a big deal for rural Pennsylvania specifically. I want to commend Commissioner Sweet. I think he was humble in his comments this morning about the level of effort that he put forward to try to retain the FCC dollars here in Pennsylvania. And I would respectfully say he probably understated his effort. This was a Herculean effort on his part, and I think we are seeing the value of that effort here this morning. I also want to thank Commissioner Kennard, who has been our leader in the broadband discussion and has really helped shape where we go as a commission, and to really give a good appreciation of some of the various aspects that are important to us as we move forward. And the last, I just want to come back to the staff, that all of this has been made possible by our Law Bureau, and as Commissioner Kennard has indicated, David Screvens, who's been our point person on this. I want to thank you, Buck, and the team for doing a great job in getting us here this morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.